Hello, hello. It is Friday, the 28th of March, 2025, and you are watching Morning Brew on Politics Social. I am Graham Hughes. Nice to have you on board. We've got Sarah Davis in the chat. We've got Diz, who was there early. We've got Martin in there as well. We've got Leonora's. We've got Pete. We've got Francis. We've got Alistair. Veg Pie. Hi, Veg Pie. If you'd like to join our friends here in the chat, all you need to do to join the gang is hit that subscribe button. Everyone here is really nice. If you are a transphobic troll, please take your business elsewhere, okay? There's 100,000 other channels that spew hatred towards minorities. This is not one of them. You are not welcome here. Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to be talking today about Trump. Unfortunately, I'm very sorry, because I hate him. I hate his stupid face. I hate everything about him. I really do look forward to the day he is no longer with us. But today we're going to be looking at the economy. And the economy of the US isn't just the US economy, really, is it? It's the world economy, the world's economy. Well, every country in the world apart from North Korea, Russia, Saudi Arabia. Yeah, they'll probably come out of it all right. But the rest of the world, not so great. David Faulkner, thank you very much for the 38 Hong Kong dollars to get us started here on the Super Chat Fund. First Super Chat of the day, coming all the way from HK. I watched your 2-year anniversary special yesterday on Catch Up beforehand, Graham. A happy birthday to Labour Politics Social. Oh, thank you very much, David. That's very kind of you. Yes, we've been doing this for 2 years and 1 day now, Morning Brew. So, yeah, welcome. Thank you very much for the $38. Okay, so going back to the core theme of today, which is we're going to explore whether, Donald Trump is deliberately sabotaging the US and therefore the global economy for personal gain, political leverage, or ideological goals through erratic tariffs, suppression of economic data, mass deregulation, and crony capitalism favoring his little fuckboy Elon Musk. Let's say, what's going on? So start with the simple question. Okay, is Donald Trump actively trying to crash the US economy? I think yes. I'm sure people in the chat probably agree with me on this one, but you may have your own opinion. Your mileage may vary. But I don't see this as hyperbole. I see this as a real policy-based matter that Trump has been told by his handlers in the Kremlin and in Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation, to do this. The stock market is tanking. The S&P 500 is down 8% in a month. Consumer confidence is plummeting. Corporate investment is freezing. The JP Morgan now sees a 40% chance of recession due to Trump's trade policies. And Goldman Sachs says his policies will add inflationary pressure and lower GDP growth. Trump's new 25% tariffs hit cars and auto parts from Asia, Europe, but more importantly, I guess, for the US automobile industry, it also hits Canada and Mexico. So now even US-built cars face thousands of extra dollars in added costs due to tariffed parts. The Anderson Economic Group estimates it's going to cost the American car buyer between $3,500 and $12,000 extra per car. Ford's Jim Farley and GM execs have been talking about the fact that there is no way to adjust quickly to this. These are uninvestable conditions. And the Honda plant that Trump has bragged about in Indiana, I think, doesn't exist. He bragged about this new Honda plant, and then Honda were like, "No, what are you talking about? There's no new plant." So what the problem is, I mean, not just in terms of the investment not coming into America. These companies say, no, we're not going to build America-only factories. And the reason why they're not saying that is because Trump isn't definitive with his tariffs. He's playing the hokey cokey. He says, oh, I'll put these tariffs on. Oh, no, I'll take them off. 50% tariffs coming at midnight tonight. Oh, no, they don't. And that uncertainty drives investor uncertainty, Why would Ford, GM, Chrysler build a plant in America and all the parts being made in America? Because don't forget, some parts are made in Canada, some parts are made in Mexico. They go back and forth across the border many times before the car is actually assembled somewhere, I don't know, Detroit or something. Like the car is built in America, but the parts have to come back and forth across the borders many times. This was part of the old NAFTA agreement, the North American Free Trade Association, which was then superseded by the USMCA deal, which was the US-Mexico-Canada deal that was negotiated by Trump himself. So we can't even blame like the last guy. Oh, he set up this terrible deal for me. No. This was negotiated by Trump himself. He's not bringing back manufacturing. He's suffocating what the country of America already has. The infrastructure and the manufacturing that America already has in place is being suffocated, because if you are playing economic hokey with tariffs, no one's going to invest because they don't know, like, this is a Trump thing. Okay, well, he's not going to be in power in 4 years' time. Why would you invest billions of dollars in setting up a new factory? Why would you do that? Like, even just changing the model of a car that a factory makes takes a year to put everything together, a year of downtime, which is why car companies have manufacturing plants all over the world, because they can make some more in that one while this one goes offline, while they update everything. The idea that they're going to build all these new car plants in America is for the birds. And then you've got, on the other side of it, not just the tariffs, but you've got the Department of Government Efficiency, dodgy, run by Elon Musk, which is slashing key federal functions, mass layoffs, agency dysfunction, chaos, and Trump, it seems to be targeting Ford, GM, Chrysler, or whatever Chrysler's calling itself these days, and pushing the advantage towards Tesla. Musk profits from weakened competition, from data suppression, and from deregulation, all of which Trump is setting up for him. Tesla is already under fire for workplace safety, AI hallucinations, and market manipulations. It's not just about sabotaging the economy, it's about redistributing economic power to Trump's allies. And then you've got the suppression of data, which I just mentioned. The Trump's admin is gutting US statistical agencies. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, Census Bureau, the BEA, and others are being underfunded or just basically mothballed effectively. Key surveys of inflation, GDP, and employment are no longer reliable in the States. So if things fuck up, we're not even going to find out about it, because there's no one making notes. There's no one finding out for us, except maybe some the very few journalists worth any salt that are still working in America these days. They've closed the Federal Economic Statistic Advisory Council. There's been an executive order to end information silos, which gives Trump's people direct access to raw government data, and therefore they're able to manipulate it. The GDP proposal is to measure growth without government spending, like take that out of GDP. And this is how authoritarian regimes mess with reality, by destroying the instruments used to measure it. It's also going after the Smithsonian Museum in the Smithsonian Museums in America as well. But that's maybe a talk for another time. I don't think we're going to get through everything today. It's a lot. So look, why would he do this? Why would he want chaos as policy? Well, it's disaster capitalism. Read The Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein. You create chaos, regulation, and sell the wreckage to your mates. Blood on the Streets, a book co-authored by Rees Mogg's dad, said the best time to invest is when there's panic, there's blood on the streets, literally. Suppressing the Fed and in independent oversight to manipulate data, economic data. He's undermining Biden's economic legacy. Biden left the economy in rude health in America. And Trump is blaming the recession on woke elites, immigrants, and green energy. Well, not technically in a recession yet, but the thing is, we won't even know if they are in a recession because they're stopping the data coming out. The economic data is not going to be published, so they'll go on. We're not in a recession. As people's houses farms are foreclosed and people's houses are taken away, and more people are on the streets, more people lose their jobs. There's going to be no data apart from the evidence of your eyes and ears when you go out on the streets in America and you see so many people who are homeless or selling their bodies for sex in order to, stay alive. Trump is going to create this society, but then he's going to say, ignore the evidence of your eyes and ears, because that is the first and most important rule of 1984, which, his handlers have read. What all that Trump seems to be doing at the moment in terms of the steel tariffs that are coming, 25% steel tariffs and aluminium tariffs, and these tariffs on cars, of which I believe that Tesla is immune, not covered by these particular tariffs. It looks like like he's trying to help Musk dominate the EV market by driving out competitors and securing massive government contracts. What does Trump gain if the economy crashes and only the ultra rich are insulated? Well, I'll tell you now, what they gain is like what they gained during COVID. The ultra rich doubled how much money they owned, how much money they had during COVID. It doubled during the economic financial crash in 2008. The elites made shitloads of money out of it. They made a fuck ton of money out of it. There were very few losers in that who were very rich to start with. The people who lost out of that were the people who weren't very rich, the people who bought these subprime mortgages and lost their homes and had to start again, starting again. Why would he do this? Why would he do this? Disaster capitalism, slash regulation, create chaos, sell the wreckage to your mates. That's the plan, and it's going to lead to global fallout. So Mexico is expecting to hit a recession. Canada has seen a 1.3 GDP downgrade in their OECD growth forecast. The EU, the forecast has been shaded by over 1% over 4 years. The forecast for the UK has been slashed from 2% to 1%. Tariffs risk triggering retaliatory measures, rising inflation and recessions across trading partners, and international investors are fleeing US markets for Asia and Europe. The Fed can't cut interest rates as inflation expectations rise. We're not just watching an economic car crash here. We are watching the nuking, the absolute wholesale demolition of the global financial architecture. And Trump is doing this, anti-growth policies, market instabilities, empowering his cronies, undermining oversight, and lying to everyone. Could this all be incompetence? Well, maybe. But when you follow the money, a pattern emerges. Trump doesn't need to win by helping people. He wins by breaking things. And the question is, will the rest of us survive this wreckage? Will we survive the bomb, Will we duck and cover in time? Will it make any difference? This isn't satire. This is happening. Is Trump like absolutely economic incompetence, or is this part of the plan? I think it's part of the plan. Well, I think it's a bit of both actually, but he has his handlers. And the fact that, in America, they're facing soaring costs. A dozen eggs are now like, what, $12? $1 each for an egg? It's ridiculous. But meanwhile, corporate profits are still at an all-time high. So who's really benefiting? Ford and GM and Chrysler, who are called Stellantis now, they won't build new plants. Supply chains are in chaos, and the US auto industry is already warning of layoffs, massive layoffs. You've got 25% tariffs already on steel, aluminium, and lumber. And prices for American steel are already up by 30%. Housing costs are up, car parts cost more, supply chain bottlenecks are worsening. And who's it helping? No one. No one except the mega rich. Because one of the other things, we say, he's helping out Musk. He is as well. Do you know what else he's helping out? He's helping out Zuckerberg. Because you know what Zuckerberg can do? He can profit from the fact that everyone's freaking out on Facebook, and he knows that outrage is a lot more profitable than kitten pictures. That's why he manufactures outrage, like the villain in one of the letter Bond films, Tomorrow Never Dies. And yeah, when you can't trust the data, but corporate profits are apparently hitting $4 trillion last quarter. And it just suggests that Trump's cuts, that Trump's tariffs, Trump's bedlam is not hurting billionaires. It's just hurting workers. It's just hurting normal people like you and I. But it's not just hurting them in America. It's hurting us over here. So we need to say loud and proud, like, fuck you, Donald Trump. Fuck you, Donald Trump. Fuck you, Elon Musk. There are protests that are taking place tomorrow all over the country at Tesla plants all over the country. I shared the details with them with you yesterday. I'll try and bring that up again and share them again today during the Friday Night Social tonight. I'll be sharing that information. If you would care to watch it, I'm not going to get it now because it means clicking on the internet and you don't want to watch me sit here for 2 minutes looking for things. But yeah, if you can turn out for these protests tomorrow, please do. Please do. Because we need to tell Musk, Trump, and perhaps the whole of America at the moment to fuck off. And, we need to be moving on to our own thing. So, 2 words that will ring through history, I think. Mark Carney, yesterday, making a speech, the Prime Minister of Canada, making a speech saying, it's over. It's over. The 2 words he used, it's over. Referring to the old relationship with America, the economic relationship, the financial relationship, the military relationship. It's over. And so is America. I said it back in December. I made the video at Niagara Falls and I said America is fucked and they have no idea just how fucked they are. They're like a cartoon character, I said, that had run off the edge of a cliff and doesn't start to fall till they look down. But they've already run off the cliff. There's no other way this ends. America is fucked. And as a bit of fallout, we're probably going to be fucked too. But we have allies, something America does not have at the moment. They have alienated their allies, their closest neighbours. They have alienated Europe. They have alienated the UK. They've alienated Australia. Like, if America was on a mission to sack off all their friends, they've done a very good job. And to bring this down to our level, like, you've had friends. Maybe you've done this yourself and then seen the error of your ways. But they meet someone new, and that person is absolutely toxic. And that person says to them, Donnie, I want you to get, or let's probably say it in a Russian accent, I want you to get rid, oh, that sounds like a fucking vampire. In a vampire accent, say, I want you to get rid of all your friends, Donnie. Oh no, that went Scottish at the end there. I was obviously the Russian-Scottish submarine captain from the Hunt for Red October. I won't do accents anymore. Can't even say the fucking word. Anyway, we all know someone who's had a toxic relationship and that partner has said, sack off all your friends. And they've sacked off all their friends. And you've been one of their friends that has been sacked off by them because they're in a toxic relationship in which their partner does not want them hanging out with their friends. And then when it all turns to shit and their partner leaves them, fucks them over, which of course Vladimir Putin is going to do to America at some point, that's when they come back and say, hey, friends, remember me? We were friends once. And you're like, yeah, once. But this is worse than that. This is more like you're living in a place and you've got flatmates and they're your busy mates and there's 4 of you living in a house together. And then they get a partner, right? And all you have to move out. You got nowhere to go. You end up on the streets, and that partner's toxic. Okay, so there you go. It's another level. I know that's not something that happens very often, but that's effectively what's happened here. Putin has got his little claws into Trump, like you would not believe, and Trump has never said anything negative about Vladimir Putin. Just let that simmer for a while. This is the man who's called Canadians nasty. He's had a go at our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. He's had a go at the European Union. He's had a go at Mexico. He's had a go at Venezuela, go at Cuba, everywhere, except he called the leader, the democratically elected leader of Ukraine, he called him a dictator. He's never said that about Putin. He's never said a bad word about Putin, and that silence speaks volumes. It's like the dog that didn't bark. The curious incident of the dog in the nighttime. Why did the dog not bark? Because he knew its owner. Alchemist says, Agent Orange is so imbecilic. He recently said the US could be part of the Commonwealth as he's American king, of course, lunatic. Yeah, indeed he is. The boss in Marvel, the Penguin, all imitating Trump's rise to power. It's not new or clever what they've done to gain power. Yeah, they just get the idiots on side. Any given cohort has an average IQ of 100. That's the way IQ tests work. And everyone who has an IQ less than 100 is someone who possibly would vote right wing more than they would vote left wing. Why? Because they're easy to manipulate, easier to manipulate. They're easier to fool because they're fools. And the more people you have whose education is shit, the more people who get out the other side of that education and become lifelong Republican Trump voters because they're thick. They haven't been educated. Possibly not their fault, but that's the lay of the land. I do rue the day that the Victorians stopped locking people up who were stupid. We used to do that. Not for average people, not for your village idiots. They tended not to get locked up. But the rich, you know, if they had an idiot child whose IQ was somewhere in the low 50s, like Trump, they would have locked them away. And I thought, you know, that's so bad. That is awful. That's horrible. I mean, how can you just lock someone away, you know, for their own good, just for being really, really stupid? But here's the thing. Here's the thing that the Victorians knew that I don't think that we realised. It's all well and good. Someone who works down mill, tuck mill, being thick as pig shit, that's not going to affect anything. But when you have members of royalty, when you have members of landed families who are thick as proverbial pig shit, that can cause real damage to the fabric of society. The Victorians perhaps were not locking these people up for their own good, but actually locking them up for the good of society. And if Trump had been locked up in the 1970s when, you know, it was obvious that he was a narcissistic sociopath who was thick as pig shit and very, very wealthy, the world today would be a very different place. That's all I'm saying. You know, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you should have to have an IQ test before you vote. I'm just saying that the people who have, you know, these positions of power, I don't want an IQ test. I want them locked away for the good of society, because we see what happens when dickheads get into power, when absolute morons take over. It is idiocracy. Idiocracy has happened 480 years earlier than Mike Judge thought it would. He was right about WrestleMania being like the go-to thing in the presidency, wasn't he? Trump's trying to just make this whole thing about WrestleMania. And the thing is, we've got to stop thinking about Trump as a politician. He's not a politician. He's an entertainer. He's a reality TV host. He has to make content. You heard him, you know, when he had that horrible incident with Zelensky, where him and JD Vance bullied Zelensky on national TV. It was just horrific to watch. Ruined my birthday. Thanks a lot, Trump, you fucker. But he said this will make great television, because that's what he's thinking of each day when we talk about Trump and what Trump's doing. That's good for him because he wants good television. That's all he thinks about. He's an entertainer. He's a WrestleMania, World Wrestling Enterprises. He's a wrestler. He's a wrestling villain who turns up, and they've got to keep the soap opera going. They've got to keep us talking about it, which is why I wish we could just ignore it. And if it didn't affect us, if it just affected America, if all this economic shit just affected America, I wouldn't care so much. You know, like, fucking, they've made their bed. They're going to have to fucking lie in it. They've made the bed. They've shat in the bed. Now they have to get into the bed. Their shitty fucking bed. But it does affect us. It affects us massively. And we're seeing a country now in the UK with a supposedly left-wing government that's taking benefits away from disabled people as a response to what's happening in America and what's happening to economies around the world. They've tied their, you know, they're like Ulysses tying himself to the mast, and the mast is the fucking the economy, the growth of the economy. But the economy's not going to grow because of what Trump is doing, you know? And it's not just the economic tariffs that are coming in that are creating a huge problem. Something I haven't mentioned yet. What about the millions of people from other countries who are leaving America now? The workers, the people who are working in the fields, the people working in the auto plants, they're leaving America, and there's no one to replace them. So much so that a story came out yesterday from Florida, which I thought, when you see something and you have to double check whether it's from The Onion or not, but it wasn't from The Onion. It was a genuine piece of news saying that lawmakers in Florida are trying to change the child labor laws in Florida to allow 14, 15, 16-year-olds to work night shifts on school days and to stop 18-year-olds taking lunch breaks. Child labor. That's what they want. Instead of foreigners doing those jobs, people from other countries, no, we don't want you to do these jobs. We want our own children to do it. And if you want a finer example of how much the older generations absolutely fucking despise the young, I can't think of a better example. And it's pretty, it's pretty dead on. I don't think it's easy to argue against that being a fact. So, jump into the chat for a moment again. Hey, Diz. Hey. Trump's creepy as hell on Women's History Month. Yes. He's using Women's History Month as an excuse to be transphobic. The fact that they're going to gut the Smithsonian museums of anything they regard as anti-fascist, I guess, must come as a wonderful Friday morning surprise to the likes of J.K. Rowling, who's woke up this morning and went, yes, they're going to take all that woke shit out of the museums. They're going to take away all the decency. I've got a degree in history and politics, right, from Manchester University, and I've travelled. I've travelled, right? And it fucks me off so much that when I do a show like last night on the DRC, I know only a couple dozen people watched it, and I understand that. I mean, it's part of the nature of doing something that is hard-hitting and talking about some really uncomfortable facts, right? But they don't want me to do that, and that's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm not doing it for the fame. I just want those episodes of Hughes of the World where I talk about the uncomfortable, disgusting, horrible things that we have done in the past. I want it there. I want it there so people can still discover it, maybe in America. Because the American education system skips all this stuff. And now you're not even going to be able to go to a museum, the Smithsonian Museum, and be able to see what Whitey did to the indigenous tribes of North America, which was fucking horrific. They gave them blankets infected with smallpox. They said, oh, you can have North Dakota. You can live there. You're fine. You're safe. That's your territory. Go with God. And then they found gold. And they started murdering the Native Americans who lived there. Murdering them. Left, right, and center. They gave out bounties for scalps of not Indian, you don't call them that. The Native Americans in America. And they don't want you to know about that. They want to rewrite history. Straight out of 1984, we've always been at war with Eurasia. We've always been at war with East Asia. We've always been at war with Oceania. Whatever. Just change it. Change all the books. Censor all the books. Change the history. Why do you think Musk, a few months ago, started talking about wanting to take over Wikipedia? They want to change the facts. They want to change what we did and make it all like this nursery rhyme, this fairy tale for stupid white people to think that they were always in the right in history. They were always the goodies. We weren't always the goodies. Even when we were the goodies, we weren't always particularly good. The Bengal famine in the 1940s during the war killed Over 1 million people in Bengal, which is now the area around Calcutta and Bangladesh. 1 million people. Chris C, thank you very much. But it's okay, as the wealthy kids will be exempt. Well, they seem to be exempt from everything. And I'm really getting a bit sick now. I've got a thing on my Blue Sky which puts a note on whether people went to private school or not. So even though my list, which is now over 1,230 people long, even though that list, it has that many people on, I'm still finding new people every day. The new addition today that I added, and it's not been updated yet, but it's been added to the spreadsheet, was Bruce Parry, who does the Tribe show on the BBC. And I just thought, fucking hell, every fucker who gets to make a TV show about travel, about really cool travel stuff, is privately fucking educated, with two notable exceptions. One is Simon Reeves, who has to go to, he did holidays in the danger zone. He's the guy who has to go to Afghanistan and Iraq and stuff. And Carl Pinkleton, who has to make a show called An Idiot Abroad, because that's what these privately educated TV execs think of the rest of us. We're just idiots abroad when we travel. And these people who have more money than sense are given free holidays by the BBC. Joanna Lumley, I like her. I think she's great. But why is she doing these travel shows? Michael Palin, a huge hero of mine. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't be able to do these travel shows. Obviously, I think he's retired from them now. But they were fantastic. They were great. But I can't escape the fact that Michael Palin and all these other people who get to make these shows all went to very expensive schools. And if you did not go to a very expensive school, there's no way you are going to make it as a travel presenter on the BBC. I made an 8-part TV series for the fucking BBC and it's never been shown in this country. Is that because of my Scouse accent? I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a very good presenter. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether that's the case. But it has been shown in 80 countries, including America, including Canada, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, China. It's been shown in India. It's been broadcast on territorial television to over 3 billion people. And it's never been shown in this country. Unbelievable. Who's the distributor of it? BBC Worldwide. Just the madness, the absolute madness of it. Well, I think it's madness, but again, your mileage may vary. Should we have a look at the papers since it's halfway through the show? Actually, I'll read some of your messages. The problem, this is from Ernie, who always has a good thing to say, clever thing to say, interesting thing to say. Ernie says, the problem is a society, we're ashamed of being stupid, but we need to see it as different and not inferior. Everyone should be respected for what they are. Otherwise, people don't accept themselves. Yeah, maybe. But I'm not talking about you or me being locked away for our own good. I think it's just the rich. Rich families, rich aristocratic, neo-aristocratic families, if you earn over £1 million a year, I reckon that's the law. If you have an idiot child, that idiot child must be locked away in a dungeon somewhere, chained up, given gruel to eat or something. I don't know what they did in the Victorian times, to keep the society safe. Look, I'm pretty sure that a lot of the people on the right would agree with that. They love locking people up for no reason. They love depriving people of their human rights. I mean, I think it would be woke not to do this, eh? I'm being a little bit facetious, but seriously, Jesus. Chris C, Darren Jones was bang out of order with that disgusting comment. They don't seem to understand that PIP isn't related to employment. People are going to be worse off regardless. Yeah, says Chris. I agree, Chris C. Scalp hunters were known as filibusters. Don't know if anyone read Blood Meriden by Cormac McCarthy. It was horrific. Fun fact, says SG. I lived in North Dakota for 2 years. Nice people, mostly of German descent, but so ignorant about anything outside their own little lives. That's true about a lot of people. Sean says, in the early 1900s in America, if you didn't pay your taxes on time, someone else could claim your property. Ooh, that's interesting. Richie Goft repeated it later. I'm furious. Wrote a scathing letter to my MP yesterday. Looks like I have to write another. Yes, please do that. Look, all this stuff about PIP and the changing of benefit rules. It's not gone through. It's just a proposal. And so what we have to do now, like our job at the moment, unfortunately, is to write to our MPs. Use ChatGPT to write it. Just say, I'm angry about this. Here are the facts. Write me the letter. And it'll do it for you. So you can spend as little time as possible doing this and email it to your MP. Go to They Work For You and look up who your MP is. If you don't know, get their Parliament's email address and write to them. They have to get back to you. And the thing is that the more people who write to them, the more pressure will be put on backbenchers. And there are lots of murmurs of discontent about what Labour are planning to do amongst the backbenchers. We need to keep that pressure on, and we need to, divert the train that Labour are trying to plough through our benefit system. I can see in some ways why they want to do it, because more and more people are going on to benefits, and obviously that's unsustainable in the long term, and there needs to be alternatives. But those alternatives should be provided without having to take away what is already there. Pete's Music says, Ren, it's not easy, I know. I had a heart attack 20 years ago and now I'm on dialysis. Oh, sorry, mate. It's hard living with medical issues, eh? But we always have to stay positive. Not always easy. Hugs, help all around. I absolutely agree. I'm guessing there's a message here from Gallifrey and Ray. Gallifrey and Ren, sorry. Nightmares, realising my salmon was week past its use after only planting up a quarter of the eggs I have pre-broken. One of the cooked ones throwing itself on the floor. Oh, God. Nightmare. Pete's Music, says, Ren, my boiler got sick last night. Was DOA this morning. Oh, shit, man. I'm really sorry to hear that, Pete's Music. Alchemist, specifically the portrayal of competition, rivalries, and relationships between participants being genuine and not staged. I believe Trump is envious of Freddie Mercury as the greatest showman ever, says one angry pagan. Trump creepy as hell on one. Oh, I've read that one. Sean said, my dad delivered to Liverpool. He pulled up some lights and two guys passed. And carried a carpet they nicked out the back of his truck. Lol. Excuse me. Can we have the anti-scouse stuff kept to a minimum, please? Just because I like making jokes about Scousers robbing stuff doesn't mean you're allowed to. Gallifrey and Ren says, and of course the ongoing pressures of living with heart failure while on Turf Island, and my nice breakfast came down to most of an egg and pile of fried onions. Look, Gallifrey and Ren, there are people here who are very, very supportive of trans rights, trans inclusion, and we're trying, and it shouldn't be your fight on your own, and we need more people speaking up about this. But I feel like more people are. I'm seeing it on social media. More people being prepared to stand up for the trans community against transphobia, which has been a poison through our social discourse now for 8-9 years, ever since the right decided to latch on to these social issues as a Trojan horse in order to separate the left from each other and cause division in the left, divide and rule amongst people who believe that being transphobic is somehow being feminist, which it absolutely isn't. It's you can't be a TERF. It's an oxymoron that you can be a trans exclusionary person and hate trans people. You can be transphobic, but being a radical feminist, you can't put that on the end. That doesn't deserve any place on the end of something that starts off with saying I'm transphobic. It makes no sense whatsoever, because transphobia will always be used as a Trojan horse to erode women's rights, which we've seen time and time again in America. The Smithsonian Museum is being gutted by the Trump administration, which is going to go ahead with an executive order that Trump has just signed. And because the VP, Vance, is given what was always a ceremonial role as the head of the Smithsonian as vice president, he's going to be using that. And one of the things that they have specifically made reference to is gender ideology. They've used transphobia as a Trojan horse to gut museums in America of anything they see as woke. And do you want to know something? Dinosaurs are woke. The Christians don't believe in dinosaurs. They think that they're just a myth. They think they were put there to fuck with us by this Joker God, by this hilarious Joker God who just put some bones in the right rock star strata everywhere in the world, always found in the correct strata. Someone was asked, an evolutionary biologist was once asked, what it would take to make him question the theory of evolution. And he said a single rabbit fossil in a pre-Cambrian strata. That's it. That's it. That's all. That's all it would take for the theory of evolution to be blown out of water. And yet hundreds and thousands, possibly millions of fossils have been found around the world over 200 years, and hardly, and none of them have been in the wrong place. I can't even say like hardly any have been. None of them have been found in the wrong place. But also, it's not just dinosaurs; it's plate tectonics. It's the universe being 3.78 billion years old. It's astronomy. It's saying that the light from that star there has taken 13 billion years to reach us. No, it hasn't. The world's only 6,000 years old. It's saying that the Earth is round and it goes round the fucking sun. They think that the sun goes round us. They think that we're on a fixed plate in space and the sun glows around us. And this is going to be in the Smithsonian Museum if the Tories, if the fascists, if the Republicans, if the Trump MAGA knobheads get their way. I mean, what? There's a fossil in the White House. Yeah, I agree. Chris C says, exactly, get better people with proper healthcare, including mental health, and they'll be back at work. Also improve working conditions so employers have to look after their employees better. I absolutely agree. Gallifreyan Rent, thank you. I'm just having an awful morning. I need to burn through a bad mood before I return to usual vaguely sunny demeanour. Got to walk to the shop for an improvised meal in a bit. Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, I'm glad that we're here with you as a gang, as a unit, to say it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right because we'll protect you. People are stepping up already to say transphobia is wrong. And we will get dickheads like James O'Brien on side with this. James O'Brien, who likes to say the words trans matters aside, which drives me up the fucking wall. I don't see why it wouldn't drive anyone else up the fucking wall. It drives me up the wall that he says this. And trans matters aside. And I'm like, what? And then he starts talking about something horrible the right wing have done. And I'm like, why are you putting that to one side? It's because he knows that if he says, oh yeah, trans women are women, he'll get a barrage of people clogging up his phone line, TERFs, to ring up and go, I hate myself. I mean trans people. Yeah, they put a lot of work into hating themselves before they decided to turn on trans people. Worth remembering that. I think it's so sad. I think it's so sad that the richest author in the world isn't happy. Imagine having that amount of money and not being happy. Could you imagine? Like, seriously? We're told from an early age that the way to happiness is through money and success and fame, and she's got all that. If she had carked it 15 years ago, there would have been a state funeral for J.K. Rowling. Now, today, her grave will be vandalized. It will stink of ammonium. You either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. Fucking hell. They weren't wrong, the makers of Batman. Eddie Burns. Most fundamentalists are in constant state cognitive dissonance, which is why they're so aggressive when they are confronted with the truth. Yeah, no one likes to be corrected, though, do they? I mean, it's not something that you put on your Tinder or your Grindr profile, is it? I like to correct people. Everyone's just swiping left. What's this? I like to left. Also force employees like Amazon, Tesco, and many others, says Chrissy, to pay wages that allow their employees to actually live and not just surviving. Also introduce rent caps so everyone can afford a home. Yeah, absolutely. I would do away. I would do away with landlords. You've got a house, great, keep it. Live in the house, it's fine. Hey, you know what? There's two of yous, and you don't want to live in a house like Frida Kahlo and her husband. Well, you can have two houses each. You can have one house each. All right, there you go. We'll stretch to that. But you have to live in the house. You can't put strangers in the house. No. The local authority can do that. Yeah, that's fine. You can pay rent to the local authority, or they can put you in a house that you don't have to pay rent in because it's a council house. They can do that. But you, private landlord, fuck off. Stop it. Just stop it. There's over 100,000 people in this country who do not have access to homes. You know, there's a huge percentage of children growing up in poverty, growing up in shitty accommodation. There's people who are working who cannot afford homes, cannot afford the rent, never mind a mortgage. And it's because of people buying second, third, fourth, fifth homes to get someone else to live in the fucking home. And people go, but that's normal. That's fair enough. You know, people have worked hard for that money and they want to invest it in a house and then put other people in that house to pay the mortgage. No. If you want that second house, you have to pay for it out of your money. You can't take the money that someone else has worked for off them to pay for your second mortgage or your third mortgage or your fourth mortgage. You can't do that. That is so grossly immoral. I don't know where to start. And yet we think it's normal. When I was on the anti-Brexit march, the Rejoin EU march last year, I got chatting to someone and he was very much like, oh, you know, the bloody Tories trying to do all this stuff and they're terrible and I'm glad Labour are in. And you know, he's very right on about everything, apparently. But then when I brought up the fact that we shouldn't have landlords, he absolutely spat his dummy out the pram because clearly he owned property. He's quite young as well, so sounded very well to do. So I'm guessing Bank of Mummy and Daddy came in handy. But this was just something that was just like one of those moments where you're like, what? And he's like, no, that wouldn't work. That's disgraceful. That's a disgraceful idea. A disgraceful idea. Do you know what's disgraceful, mate? People taking money from people earning minimum fucking wage to pay off their second mortgage or pay off the mortgage on their second house that they don't even fucking need. You can only really live in one house unless you've got, you know, unless you're an MP, I guess. But I would say that what we should do with MPs in London is have hotels where the MPs are put up. You know, obviously spread them about. You don't want all the MPs in the country staying in the one hotel. That would be a security nightmare. But having places where MPs stay, where, you know, block book a part of a hotel. And when they go down to London, that's where they stay. No, they've got to have their own house. No. Gallifreyan then says, I think it's cheese and ham toasty day. That sounds great. Simple and minimal cooking to go wrong. If I can clear my head, I want to write a bit too. That's the plan for the day. Oh, brilliant, Gallifreyan. We were talking about this yesterday, weren't we? If you are feeling creative, write, draw, do something. It doesn't have to be perfect. The more you do it, the better it gets. Just keep doing it. You know, one day I will perfect Morning Brew. It will work. I won't say the word at all in the whole show. I'll just continue on as one long stream of conscious narrative. And it'll all make sense and there'll be no technical problems whatsoever to stress me the fuck out. But yeah, just keep doing it. And don't wait for someone's permission. Two best tips I could ever give anyone. Don't wait for people's permission, you know, and just get started. It's a lot easier. Here's something that I should have said yesterday, actually. It's a lot easier to edit something you've written than to write it in the first place. So just get writing. The first draft will be shit. Make no sense, full of plot holes. The characters change their names halfway through. Doesn't matter. Just get it written down. Get that shit written. Then once it's written, you work on the revision. So most books, most scripts, most things that are written are, you know, 1% writing, 99% rewriting. Trust me on this, but get it down, get the bones out. It gets the brain working and making connections that you didn't think of beforehand. If you try and just keep everything in your head, think about it like when you do a maths question, right? If I ask you to do a simple maths question, like what's 5 times 10, you'll go, oh, it's 50, right? But if I ask you a complicated maths question where I give you like 2 4-figure numbers and ask you to multiply them together, what do? What is your first instinct, right? If you don't have a phone with a calculator, you don't have a calculator, you say, get me a pen and paper, and you start writing it down. Yeah? Get it down. Get it down on paper, get it down on your computer or even on your phone. I make notes on my phone all the time. If I have an idea, straight into notes, write it down. Morning Brew is great. Never change it, please. Oh, thank you very much, Scott. That's very kind of you. Indeed. What's the latest crap on the papers? Says Andrew Ray in capital letters. Should we go find out? Should we head over to the papers? Here we go. Okay. We have, what do we do here? King, cancer bump in the road. Charles in hospital dash. King Charles was taken to hospital yesterday after suffering side effects from his cancer treatment. The monarch, 76, had to cancel his engagements for yesterday and today, but an aide described the setback as a minor bump in the road, and a royal source says the king will want to get back on the horse as soon as possible. Using a lot of euphemisms here, aren't they? Engagement cancelled after monarch suffers treatment side effects. So that's about the king. Also, we've got ninja swords ban is a step towards justice for Ronan, which I agree with. It's ridiculous that people can have ninja swords because, first of all, it's cultural appropriation. Secondly, we're not ninjas. Anyway, close this advert here. Life's too short for brushing your hair, says Nigella Lawson, who's privately educated, of course. Bowie, Pitt, and Kate Moss, the best cameos of all time. Trump makes $100 billion grab for Ukraine's oil and mineral wealth. President Trump has told Ukraine to hand over more of its minerals, oil, and gas reserves as part of a revised economic deal that offers Kyiv security guarantees. No security guarantees in return. Fucking hell. 1 in 4 Britons claim they have a disability. A quarter of Britons say that they are disabled, with 2 million more people than before the pandemic saying they struggle to function because of more poor mental health. Okay, right. Make this very clear to you, okay? Yes, this doesn't surprise me at all. Some people need a little bit of help. Like when I say a little bit of help, I mean a little bit of help, a little bit of understanding. Reasonable adjustments. That's all they need, right? When you say, oh, but there's 2 million more people that doesn't mean there's 2 million more people in wheelchairs, okay? That doesn't mean that. It means that people need slight reasonable adjustments to do their job. And if you can put those adjustments in place, then those people can do their jobs. And those jobs could be a rocket engineer, could be a brain surgeon, could be a high court judge. They could be technically disabled, but it doesn't take much in terms of the costs of the company they're working for or the costs of the taxpayer to make things so they can be as productive as possible. You could look at this another way. You could say, 1 in 4 people in Britain is less productive than they should be, than they could be. Okay, cool. If you want to give them the support they need to make them as productive as possible, do it. Fucking do it. We're not talking about changing the infrastructure of the entire country. We're not talking about building new high-speed rail lines or putting in new pylons or underground cables or digging tunnels or building bridges or doing anything particularly expensive. But even something as simple as making sure that an assistant, secretary, whoever, makes sure there's a glass of water, the clerk of the court, clerk of the court even, we're British, make sure that there's a glass of water on the desk. That's it, simple as that. I come here, right, and I called this morning brew for a reason, because I need to have a drink with me on the desk, and if I don't think about that in advance, I won't just do it automatically. My partner takes a glass of water to bed with her every night. I never think to do it. Even if I've been drinking, I never think to do it. It drives her up the wall because I'll wake up with a dry mouth and I'll be like, can I have some of your water, please? This. It's a sign for water. It's just one of those things. I'm like, making sure that there's a glass of water there for someone with ADHD is fuck all. Like, it's as simple as fucking thing. But they're trying to turn it into this thing of like, oh my God, it's going to cost the taxpayer so much money. And these people, clearly some of them are swinging the lead. No. Why would you make up that you have difficulties doing simple fucking shit if you weren't having problems doing simple fucking shit? People take pride in all kinds of mad stuff. People take pride. I take pride in doing the dishes and making sure they look all bossy, all stacked up. Doing my little Jenga thing with all Tetris, putting all the cups and saucers. It's a daft thing, and I go, cool, I did that. I take pride in it. I don't know why, but I do. It takes me twice as long as a normal person to do the fucking dishes because I'm ADHD. I've always wondered why it took me so long to do menial tasks, but it turns out there's a reason for it. And it's not something that is difficult to deal with. So yeah, 2 million more people saying they are disabled, but all disabilities aren't the same. And as a result of COVID, you've got long COVID, right? Which makes people tired, makes people ill more susceptible to getting ill. Right? And then you've got also the mental health problems that have exacerbated by COVID. You've got the feelings of depression, the feelings of anxiety have gone through the roof. But that's not just COVID. We can't pin that all on COVID. This is a culmination of so many things. Austerity, Brexit, then COVID, and then Trump. Well, Truss first and then Trump. People are anxious. Of course they are. Our entire way of being is being disrupted by fat, horrible, disgusting, blobby, orange, nepo baby fuckwits who want to fash us into oblivion with their fucking demented, demonic, sadistic policies that are there to fuck us over. And half the people who are us are like, yeah, this is great, they're fucking over the other people. And I'm like, they're not, they're fucking over you stupid fucking fuckwit. Do you think this is going to bring manufacturing back to Pittsburgh? Is Trump going to do that? I don't fucking think so. Yeah. Fucking disgraceful. What we need, reasonable adjustments. We need more wealth equality. No, instead of having this massive amount of wealth held in the hands of a handful of people, while everyone else scrabbles around to make the rent each month, scrabbles around to pay off the interest on all their fucking debt. Yeah. And they're sitting there going, oh, well, maybe I should get a third, fourth, seventh home. No, that's not the way it works. Actually, I'm going to make a point. If you do have a second home and you've got it open on Airbnb, I think that's something that needs to be looked at by the government as well. Okay, so one, letting people stay somewhere on Airbnb and charging them for it, I will say, okay, fair enough. If it's your own home and you live there, or if it's a home that you look after, you look after, fair enough, because it doesn't fall into the trap that I feel that private rental falls into, is that you are working as a custodian of that house. You're making sure it doesn't get burgled. You're making sure that the window's open so it doesn't get full of mold. You're making sure it doesn't burn down. You're making sure there's not a gas leak. You're making sure that squatters don't come in, burglars. Yeah, okay. Right, so you are a night watchman or woman of that particular property. You are working as a custodian of that property, but you're not getting paid for that. In fact, you are paying for the privilege. So I think that's wrong. So with Airbnb, obviously, I mean, you might have an agency do it for you, but generally speaking, people look after their own property, which is half of the problem that I have. And so that takes that away. But what Airbnb is doing, and I'm on Airbnb, my island's on Airbnb, okay? So, but when it's taking away from places for local people to live, like what you're seeing in Cornwall, where you've got all these holiday homes, all these Airbnb properties, and the local people, it's one of the poorest areas of England, they've got nowhere to live because all the housing stock is taken up by private landlords from London who want to, put their things out as a holiday let or on Airbnb. So that definitely needs to be looked at. I'm not saying to get rid of Airbnb altogether. I'm saying it needs to be looked at in particular areas. We need to have some kind of zoning principle where we don't allow people to have houses that they don't live in. There's a certain quota, let's say 10% in any given town or village. And if that quota's already been taken up, sorry, you're shit out of luck. If you buy that house, you have to live there. If you don't live there, we're going to compulsory purchase it off you next year, and we're going to put local people into that house. Okay, so, Alistair Kem has gifted people memberships. Thank you. Welcome, new members to the channel. We have Gulf Marine, we have Josh, we have David Peacock, we have Robin Moore, and we have Craig, who have all been gifted memberships by Alistair Kerr. Thank you so much, Alistair. That is so kind of you. Thank you. That is fantastic. Thank you. Brilliant. More people on the channel. It's all good. Right, let's get back onto the papers. For a moment, it is 10 o'clock, so I have to wrap up soon. King has to cancel visits after return to hospital, temporary side effects from cancer treatment. We saw that in the other paper there. And then if we go back, we've got Daily Mail here. Oh, stop with the ads. My son shot a policeman dead, and I'm wondering, am I to blame? Possibly. The king kept in hospital after feeling side effects from his continuing treatment for cancer. Charles is forced to cancel full day of visits. The king has been forced to cancel a string of engagements today after experiencing side effects following his cancer treatment. We've done that already. Joanna's journey from downtown to gangland. Joanne Froggatt. Should we look her up? Should we look up Joanne Froggatt? Should we do this? This is Joanne Froggatt. I've not really heard of her, but apparently she was in Downton Abbey. Joanne Froggatt, British actress. Here we go. Let's have a look. She was born in Littlebeck. She's 44 years old, and she worked on a sheep farm, and she attended the Red Roofs Theatre School, which is a private school. Oh, hang on. That's actually come up on there. Oh, cool. That's a bit random. Why have you appeared on the screen? That's not super... Oh, well, there you go. You got to watch me Google. Charles forced to cancel day of visits. We've already done this. So let's go back. I think it's going to be one of these days when there's pretty much the same news story on every paper. Be a bog roll bandit, says the Star. Right. King stuff is bumping the road. Read that. Right, here we go. This is more interesting. We've got Ray Fiennes, privately educated, of course. Tilda Swinton, privately educated, of course. Reeves, not privately educated, may be forced into tax fears. Reeves may be forced into further tax increases. Well, if they tax the wealthy, it wouldn't be a fear, would it? It would be a bit of jubilation. And there's Keir Starmer and Zelensky. Paris summit. European leaders affirm their support for Ukraine. Steel plant closure puts 2,700 jobs at risk. This is as a direct result of Trump's tariffs. British Steel plans to close its 2 blast furnaces and steel-making operations in Scunthorpe, putting 2,700 jobs at risk. The company, owned by China's Jingyi, said it would immediately start consultation with its workforce and unions on redundancies stemming from the planned closures, alongside reduction of steel rolling mill capacity. And then a BBC reporter at Turkish protests is deported, which was worth talking about, I think. This is a British reporter in Ankara in Turkey who was protesting. He was reporting on a protest. He wasn't taking part of the protest, just reporting on it, and he got deported as a result. UK sends military chiefs to Kyiv as Trump goes after Ukraine's oil, gas, and metals. Jesus Christ. Scramble for deal to avoid Trump tariff trade war at the top there in the economy bit of it. Tax cut on table for Musk and Bezos as part of talks. Fucking disgraceful. So Amazon and Tesla are going to be let off the hook in order for the our steel industry not to go under. And then in culture there, we've got festivals to light up your summer. These are the best for all tastes. Well, festivals are so expensive these days. Good luck to anyone. Who gets there? The death of single-sex schools laments the Daily Telegraph, a place where bullying was rife and sexual assault was rife, especially in boys' schools. And homophobia and just being horrible. Yeah, co-ed all the way, as far as I'm concerned. Alison Pearson, my hometown and an England we've lost. Fuck off, Alison Pearson. Not privately educated, but still a gobshite. King in hospital, we read that. Trump's Ukraine plan to take more than minerals. Chancellor plotting tax grab on savers, apparently. And then US deploys stealth bombers to the Chagos Islands, which is... a bit worrying, to say the least. Collision course, Starmer and Macron's Ukraine gamble. It's a front cover of the Metro. Russia warns bloodbath as UK and France order in military without Trump's blessing. Do it. And then we've got Financial Times here. No room for liberty in Putin's imperial Russia, which is the way that America's going at the moment. You can't spell Russia without U, S, and A. Canada's dash to defend its Arctic front line. I've talked about the fact that the Arctic, the plan is, I've said this weeks ago, for Russia and America is to take over half the Arctic each. And that's why Trump is so interested in Canada. It's why it's so interested in Greenland. Knock to stock, Trump tariffs hits car makers. Billionaire Mittal to leave Britain after tax crackdown on non-dom residents. Steel tycoon joins Exodus. Labour ends 228-year-old regime. Out opponents decry loss of high earners. Billionaire steel tycoon Mittal is preparing to leave the UK in response to the government crackdown on non-domiciled residents, making him one of the wealthiest entrepreneurs to move because of the tax reforms. Yeah, they don't want to pay tax. All right, bye then. So they're not going to use our roads. They're not going to put potholes in our roads. Okay, cool. They're not going to use our NHS anymore. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Bye. Anne says, anyway, I got a temporary job and then a few more temporary and part-time jobs and eventually a job that kept me in the last decade until retirement. So it worked out in the end. That's all good. Got Christy saying, I find a majority of people who don't understand hidden disabilities are the older generation. They're the ones who make life hell for me if it isn't a priority seat on the bus. Yeah. I mean, I still haven't made my not all boomers thing, but I think I'm going to have to do this. Not all boomers. But I follow a couple of TikTokers who just slag off boomers in every video, and it's not right. It's not good. I shouldn't. You know, I don't believe that it's everyone who's a boomer feels this way. Obviously, there's some people who are watching this who are boomers, who are obviously really good eggs, including my mum. Hi, mum. But honestly, oh my God, the older generation, they just get worse as they got older. You know, they get more fash as they get older. You know, dreaming of Spitfires and fucking air raid sirens and Monty in the desert. No, Rommel in the... I mean, Hugo Boss designing the fucking uniforms. You know, they're obsessed. They're obsessed with the Second World War and they're trying to set things up so we have another one. But they don't want to be on the good side. They want to be on the side of the Nazis. These are people who think that the Nazis were the good guys. You know, the Nazis should have won World War II. They're the people in charge in America at the moment. They're the people who voted for Brexit. They're the people who voted for fucking refuck. Or voting for refuck, you know? David Peacock says, fuck off, tax dodgers. I just added that because I had to approve it because you were swearing. But we can have a little bit of swearing on the show. Just don't drop the C-bomb. Okay, I'm going to get off now. I'll be back at 1 o'clock with the agenda with Phil Morehouse. It's quite an important topic we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about disability, PIP, what this means and what we can do about it. More importantly, what we can do to stand up against this and how we can get backbench Labour MPs on our side to create a force and make it very difficult for the leadership of Labour to go ahead with these cuts. It just seems mind-boggling that in a world where the rich just have so much, like the wealth of the UK hasn't decreased. I mean, it's not increased much, but it's not decreased because what's happened is the people with very little have got less and the people with a lot have got more, so much more. And then they go around saying, oh, you know, I just worked hard for my money. Nobody gave me anything. Yeah. Don't get me started. Okay, so hopefully I'll see you at 1 o'clock. If not, maybe 9:30 tonight when we start the Friday night social. Should be a good laugh tonight. Please join us for that. We need to unwind, decompress at the end of the week. Decompress and also de-depress at the end of the week. So please join us for that. We'll be grabbing some of the funniest memes and shit off the internet to have a laugh about. So until then, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the super chats. I really appreciate it. Thanks for everyone who added some kind words here. If you do want to join the channel and get a little rose after your name, like Martin Harrow and Sarah Davis and Phillips here, just hit the join button and you will get a rose after your name when you write something. And please, join us. It's a free chat. Just don't be a troll or we will mute you and boot you. Until next time, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.